Time check for you. The time is now 19 hours 20. Welcome to another edition of the Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1, 99.5 FM. Good evening to all our listeners and viewers wherever you are tuned in to Kaieteur Radio. My name is Shakima Day, and I will be your moderator this evening. And joining me will be Mr. Lall, the man of the hour. And we also have two very special guests in the studio, but I will not be calling their names. So just a few housekeeping matters before we jump right into Mr. Lall's presentation. The phone lines will be open as usual. This is an interactive session, so you can call us, send us a text or a comment. These are the numbers 622-222, or you can call us and interact with Mr. Lall on 226-7454 or 226-7453. The numbers are 226-7453, 226-7454, or 622-222. And with that very short introduction, I'll hand the baton over to Mr. Lall to commence his presentation.
Thank you, Shakima, and thank you to all Guyana. Wednesday, I spoke about Guyana not being covered by full insurance from Exxon and its partners. I told you guys Vice President Jagdeo held a press conference and had to be asked the question why Guyana does not have full insurance from Exxon. The answer he gave left me and all Guyana stunned and sad. His response was like neither here nor there. If we don't have full insurance, it's okay. Just listen to him again, just in case you missed my Wednesday night program, as he responded to that question.
Has the government received any guarantee from Exxon and its partners that the parent companies will accept liabilities for any oil spill or natural disaster?
The thing is that you see what this has been an issue in the insurance policy. Mm-hmm. So that has been a long-standing issue, and you know what the answer is. So you're not going to get a new answer from me now. Right now, it's on the incorporated company. Mm-hmm. But we believe that the liability passes to the parent company. We believe that, the way it's written. The thing is that as we move forward in the new licensing arrangement and the new agreement, these things have to be clarified crystal clear.
Mm-hmm. You guys heard him yourself. You see how Brother Jagdeo skirts the question. The President addressed Parliament yesterday, his first inaugural speech to the National Assembly, and talked for 1.5 hours. He made no mention of the two most crucial areas relating to the oil and gas sector or industry. He said nothing about securing a better deal for the country in Stabroek Block deal with ExxonMobil, or securing full insurance coverage for any potential disaster which may have happened out there. Here is what he told Parliament and all of us. We must acknowledge that we cannot take advantage of our oil and gas resources without the considerable investment of the companies now operating in the sector. Wow. What advantage this brother is talking about? What investment our president is talking about? You need to let us know, Brother Irfan, what investment they made. I wish I know who wrote his speech or who directed that speech. let them come on air with me, please. Or Mr. President can come himself. Or Brother Jagdev can come. Guys, there's no investment made by oil companies out there. It's our investment. You hear me, Brother Ali and Brother Jagdev? Those oil players went and pledged our wealth to the loaning institutions to get the cash for the investments which me and you have to pay. It's our loans them took. We paying the banks. Our oil money coming out first to repay the loans plus the interests, brothers and sisters. Yes, that is our investments. Them borrow on our strength. Brother Ali further said, those companies are entitled to a fair return on their investments. Therefore, any relationship with those companies should be based on fairness, on equity, and on mutual interests. That is the goal which a government will work to ensure future production costs and contracts resound to the significant benefits to Guyanese. I want all of you to hear what he said in his own words about our oil industry and where he is planning to take all of us. Just listen.
In respect of our sovereignty, the right to make decisions in our national interests, while the prospect for wealth from oil and gas is now real, it could dissipate if we fail to take the necessary steps to ensure that Guyana's interests and its rightful income are safeguarded. Our nation is dealing, for the most part, with giant companies in the oil and gas industry. This is uncharted territory for us, but we will have to map the way that leads to the best circumstances for our country. For sure, we will need expert advice based on sound knowledge and robust experience of the industry, including operating agreements, concessions, laws, and regulations to promote good governance and prudent management of the oil and gas sector to make sure our people benefit. But above all else, we need every Guyanese united as one to stand in defense of our rights and entitlement. Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity must be the nation's constant unified watch. It is this patriotic duty every Guyanese must stand up to be counted. Every political party, every trade union, every business organization must stand up and be counted. This National Assembly must stand up and be counted. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. My government wants a cooperative partnership with the companies now licensed to operate in the oil and gas sector of our economy. Leaving oil and gas in the ground is not an option. It cannot be an option when their production and sales can transform the economy of Guyana, bringing in considerable revenues that can be utilized to dramatically improve the lives of all our people. We must also acknowledge that we cannot take advantage of our oil and gas resources without the considerable investment of the companies now operating in the sector. They're entitled to a fair return on their investment. Therefore, our relationship should be based on fairness, on equity, and on mutual interests. That is the goal to which the government will work to ensure future production contracts resound to the significant benefit of Guyanese without seeking to disincentivize foreign investment. To support government in managing of the oil and gas sector, we will be pursuing various legislative and institutional initiatives. Update to the Petroleum Act, building a capacity and an institutional framework for the audit of expenditure and the drafting of a new production agreement with international standards under which any new production license will fall. But even as I look forward to the establishment of the Petroleum Commission, my government will introduce legislation for consideration by this session of the National Assembly. One of the pieces of legislation will be to fortify in law the local content policy, which is currently undergoing the phase of public consultation. The aim is not only to align the policy with international best practices, particularly regarding reporting and transparency, but also to deliver more business and more jobs to our people. The legislation will be drafted based on the outcome of consultations that I will hold with stakeholders in our society concerning provisions in the law that would best serve our national interests. Guyanese must not be second-class citizens in the oil and gas sector in our own country. They must be its principal beneficiaries, ahead of all and second to none. Thousands of Guyanese will be trained at every level to create a national corps of managers and technicians to effectively administer the sector. For the benefit of this generation of Guyanese and those yet unborn, we'll establish an arm's-length sovereign wealth fund insulated from political interference. Legislation will be enacted to define how finances will flow from the fund into the budget and the purpose for which they will be used. My government also intends to account to the nation for every cent earned from the industry and for every cent that is spent. To accomplish this, legislation will be introduced during this session of the National Assembly, making the Finance Minister and the Finance Secretary responsible for publishing details of all revenue and expenditure in the official gazette, allowing the people to track all transactions. Failure to do so will be punished severely under the law. The revenues from the sector, like all other sectors, are the people's money. They're entitled to know how much money is earned, how much money is spent, and on what it is spent. I've also made it clear to my ministers that transparency and accountability are the fundamental principles by which I expect them and myself to conduct ourselves, and to which I hold them accountable. We are the custodians of the people's asset and will account to them for all that we do. That is why we'll also establish a regulatory framework that is independent of politicians, and why we'll build strong national capability to hold oil companies accountable and to verify production and other expenditures. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the National Assembly, let me be clear on something. My government does not intend to allow the oil and gas sector to encourage what is called Dutch disease, which dominates all other sectors of the economy and diminishes them in value and sustainability. Our country must not suffer the fate of other nations that came to depend on oil and gas so substantially that they faced ruin when the sector floundered, contracted, or diminished. Revenues from the oil and gas resources must be used to strengthen the agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and services sector to make them globally competitive so that Guyana can be a resilient nation now and in the future.
Wow. What a powerful speech, brothers and sisters. The gentleman spoke about the Dutch disease. The Dutch disease is already here on us. He said this oil industry is one that is gigantic and that it will take time to grasp the business, this cake shop business. Oil business is a cake shop business. Just you have to check, okay, whatever they spend and get your right money. They're talking about how fancy this is. But while he used fancy, flowery languages, making promises about jobs and training, capacity building. He would make changes in future contracts. This is for future contracts. Brother Irfan said not a single word about Exxon's deal and insurance coverage. That is not important to them and to us. You hear that? It's not important to them. Man, something is wrong with their head. What fair terms this brother is talking about? 98% for them and 2% for us? That's the fair terms? It should have been the other way around, Brother Irfan. We should be getting the 98% and them should be getting the 2%. God, please bless these guys and please help Guyana. President Ali told the parliament that the Stabroek Block deal is anything but fair. That is more laughable than anything else. Fair, 98% for them and 2% for we. Imagine all the oil exports saying Guyana got one of the worst contracts in the world. Only our leaders, yes, our leaders saying it's fair. Man, something is certainly wrong with these people we have for leaders. And they are not stupid. That is not incompetence as they want us to believe. No. Something else is wrong here. When our leaders defending a terrible, one-sided, lopsided contract, brothers and sisters, you have to ask many questions, including who is benefiting from the deal and how much they are benefiting from those deals. I talked in length as to what our neighbor Suriname got with their contracts. Only Monday gone. If you missed it, go on YouTube or visit Kaieteur page. It's there. I spoke in length. We have talked before about how Guyana left billions of dollars, US dollars, on the table when they negotiated the Exxon deal in 2016 by Raphael Tratman. International bodies talked about it too. Not a word from our brothers in or out of governments. You didn't hear anything from them. We have also reported about the many dangerous provisions in that contract, which has room for the oil companies to take advantage and abuse all Guyana. All of us. These include pre-contract cost discrepancies, taxes that are paid by Guyana on behalf of the oil companies, unspecified interest rates expensed to Guyana for loans taken by the oil entities, and weak provisions on the protection of the environment, among so many other provisions we reported on. None, hear me Guyana, none have been rectified or fixed so far. Yes, none. Now, President Ali is talking about looking back at those to rectified and fixed. And they were in opposition for 5 years. They're in office now 6 months. And today he's talking about getting those things fixed. Can you believe this? It still remains the same as I speak. No changes. There have been no changes, too, for the renegotiations on Exxon deal. The leaders seems blind, looking in different directions, or deaf in both ears when renegotiations of Exxon deal is talked about. Like Brother Jagdeo, President Ali said, the goal of fairness and equity is one which a government will work to ensure future production contracts resound. What that mean, Guyana? Yes, they will look to secure a better deal with the other small oil contracts and oil blocks, the small oil players that left out there, but not with Exxon. They will do nothing about Exxon. What he's actually saying there, Exxon is a done deal. Take where I'll get and shut up. Even with the biggest oil block Exxon has, they are being allowed to walk away, robbing us and leaving us to scramble the scraps, the crumbs them throwing at us. And our president and vice president is okay with that. Take that. That is what you all deserve, brothers and sisters. The pennies. Well, listen to this carefully, guys. If you all sit down and allow this to happen, start changing your minds to live the same way you are today, if not worse. Imagine little Suriname got 6.25% royalty. Guyana gets less than 2%. Suriname to receive 30% tax. Guyana got 0, minus 0%. Suriname, and I'll talk about it, Suriname got full insurance. Guyana got cockabelly fish insurance. That is how your leaders see us. They see us as cockabelly fish. We don't deserve nothing. As President Ali, addressed the parliament, he said nothing about insurance in the event of an oil spill or related disaster. Although we have no guarantee that Stabroek Black operators ExxonMobil, Hess and CNOOC will pay. You hear me, Guyana? You guys remember Vice President Jagdeo said, them believe Exxon and partners gonna pick up the bills. Them believe them will pay. Wow. Listen to this. I am not saying Guyana doesn't have insurance. We have what was given by Exxon subsidiaries, and that is nothing. What we got there is nothing to even plant back the bushes at your riverside, much less fixing Guyana. That's where we are with the insurance we got in case of a spill. And all the people who give us that insurance owns is nothing. They give us that insurance, but they owns nothing. So you can't go after them for anything other than the money to wash your feet in case of a spill. You have no other money to take care of you with serious damages or destruction they cause, because they own nothing. And the real boss with the cash to take up the responsibility is hiding in the background, not signing to safeguard Guyana. Brother Ali and Brother Jagdeo protecting them. Let me simplify that in layman's language. Banks DIH has insurance coverage for their employees. And guess who signed for the company? The cleaner or one of the security guard. The boss and sign. So if you get injured, all you get is the little money the security guard signed the insurance for, and the rest you have to take the cleaner or the security guards to court to get something. That's the position where Exxon, CNOC, and Hess have all of us. And that is okay with Brother Irfan Ali and Brother Jagdeo and all the rest of our leaders in this country. I have received many calls from insurance people here applauding me for highlighting this subject matter. They know the danger ahead of us. One even said they met with President Ali on it, and they are to meet again. They were so thankful that I'm speaking on this matter. They even say they would be looking out at the local players in the oil sector to secure full cover insurance for our brothers and sisters in the event of accidents and deaths during the oil operations. Not only them seeing the danger we are exposed to, excuse me, agencies like the World Bank had cautioned our leaders to ensure that they demand comprehensive insurance policies for all oil operators, warning that oil operators have often sought insurance covering only certain activities. The World Bank went on to say emerging oil producers such as Guyana would want to ensure that this is in place, especially when one considers how other nations suffered in the absence of proper insurance coverage. They cite the case of the major oil spill which occurred in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico. What this president is telling us, brothers and sisters, you know what he's telling us? He's telling us, like, let me simplify this, as if DDL, one of the biggest beverage companies, was able to get away by being allowed to pay no taxes, duties, waive, concessions, and they are allowed to walk away with all the profits, just like Exxon. That's what our leaders is actually telling us. But now he's changing the rules to ensure the small drink factories and the cake shops to come pay their full share in taxes and duties from their profits. Just like what he said they're going to do with the small oil blocks players. You hear that? Exxon is gone scotch-free. What is going on in this land, guys? Added to what Brother Irfan said in Parliament, he also touched on the establishment of a petroleum commission, the local content policy, and improving the sovereign wealth fund. While those are important matters to be addressed, the President and Vice President, Dr. Bara Jagdeo, have made such statements since last year. You hear me, Guyana? Since last year, they made those statements. Kaieteur News had highlighted in a previous article that there are several key areas for President Ali and his government to focus on to ensure that Guyana's future as an oil and gas producing nation is a prosperous one. There are so many things that we have highlighted. These are some of them we have highlighted. Putting in place appropriate technology offshore to monitor the measurement of oil remotely. Saudi Arabia have that. President Ali can sit in his office and measure every drop of oil. That's one of the things we talk about. Design a roadmap to use portion of the oil money to build sustainable industries. Outlining benchmarks for corporate and social responsibility. Establishing a decommissioning policy. That's a big one. I will talk about that one sometime down the road. We have heard nothing about that. Outline a structure for what is to be expected in field development plans. I spoke about that, which cost billions of US dollars. Strengthening key auditing agencies, specifically the Auditor General. President Ali spoke about that today. Strengthening institutions that will be responsible for the expenditure of the oil money, including the Ministry of Finance, Public Infrastructure, and Ministry of Health. I think he touched on that one, which is very good. Improve Guyana's capacity to monitor and record emissions offshore, particularly in the case of the EPA. And there are so many other things. Higher technical experts needed within the Ministry of Natural Resources, EPA, GGMC, Guyana Revenue Authority. Update policies and laws, he talked about that. Implement software solutions for compliance monitoring and for operating requisite controls for expenditure of oil money. He spoke about that. Outline a vision for the oil sector following consultation with citizens. I think he spoke about that. I'll be waiting to attend those seminars. There's so many things. You know, today lead story. The lead story in the Kaieteur news is this one. Suriname gets parent companies to take full responsibility for oil spills. The Suriname oil boss says subsidiaries are nothing. You have to get insurance from the parent companies to take full responsibility for any oil spill. This is a country with half or little over half our population saying that to us, Guyana. You hear that? It's like our children saying, Dad, get full insurance for our home. And he's playing like if he's deaf or dumb. The man said, Suriname will leave no stone unturned when it comes to securing benefits for its people. He said they will ensure that the parent companies in the oil and gas sector take full responsibility for any oil spill that may occur in Suriname waters. So if we are hit by their oil spill, Guyana, trust me, the people insurance will cover us too. That's what the man is actually saying. What Guyana has. Read it in today's paper for yourself. We will have to go down on our knees and beg for help. I choose to put that story in front of what our president talked about in Parliament because I felt That is the most important thing for Guyana. As to everything else he spoke about yesterday, as he addressed the National Assembly, our oil wealth seems to be nothing for our leaders. Maybe they have their own reason, but it means a lot to me and you, Guyana. And it can be everything for most Guyanese, because I've been out there and I see how they live, and that of future generations. And what are we hearing from our leaders? Little or nothing about it. The second top headline in the papers today is 6 months passed and government makes no headway in disclosing OMI and other mining contracts. Why is this, Brother Irfan? Is there more sellouts or more giveaways? What is going on, guys? See for yourself. Foreigners coming in, digging out our gold and other minerals, our wealth, and we don't know what the hell is going on. The leaders believe that the wealth in our land and under the seabed belongs to them, and they can do whatever and however they want with it. Why? Why? Because all of you out there is sleeping while they are emptying our country. You guys can continue hoping and sleeping. You will wake up and find nothing left for you and your children. The things I see going on here, brothers and sisters, I have concluded that we are paying the foreign people to come here and rape us. And guess who's allowing and approving all of that? Yes, no other than our leaders, while you are asleep. Back to the oil deal. Our president even asking for a... This man is even... He's not even asking for a better deal with Exxon or make sure we are covered by insurance. Listen what Suriname oil boss say. The man pointed to British Petroleum, BP, and its well blowout in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. In that disaster, which is deemed as the world's worst accidental oil spill, BP was required to pay 70 billion US in that spill. The Suriname oil boss went on to say, it begs the question whether the subsidiary would have been able to handle those billions of dollars in expenses had it been on the hook for such a disaster. So, an oil spill can happen. We say it can happen, but when a disaster does happen, you have to ensure that the companies who are backing this should be the big brother to take up and pay up. What a true leader that man is to Suriname. Can I say that of any of our leaders now? Having heard both Brother Jagdev and Brother Ali and Brother Harman, this is important for you to hear, Guyana. While President Ali was delivering his speech yesterday about his vision for Guyana in the next 5 years, while he was talking inside, the opposition was protesting outside. A few of them, so-called ministers in the opposition, was out there. Mr. Ali, Mr. Harman, the opposition leader, wasn't there. Maybe he got carried, good carried, because my reporters were looking out for him. What they were protesting there for, I really don't know. My reporters couldn't tell me nothing. All they said, boss, 3 ministers and 15 or 20 followers were there. And they don't know why or what they were there for. But I can tell you this, Guyana, they should have been there protesting the Exxon contract. But they can't do that, as they were the ones responsible for signing that contract. Give us less than 2%. And they were also part of not having Exxon signing to take on the responsibility of full insurance coverage to protect, to safeguard me, you, and all Guyana. I didn't say good night, but now I'll say good night to all of you. Let me hear your questions. We have added another telephone number, so I'm here to listen to you now. Thank you.
All righty then. Thank you so much, Mr. Lall. You gave the viewers and the listeners a mouthful to digest. So before we go to a quick commercial break, I just want to repeat the numbers to you guys. Just a reminder that the phone lines are open. You can call us on 226-7453 or 226-7454. Or if you can't use that, you can send us a text or a comment on 622-222. And if those avenues don't work for you, Kaieteur Radio is streaming this program live on our Facebook page, so you can shoot us a comment there as well. Whatever questions you have regarding Mr. Lall's presentation. So at this point, we'll take a very quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to answer your questions.
GPL Public Advisory, major plant maintenance for Saturday, February 13, 2021 on the west coast of Demerara from Lenora to Dekinderan from 9 hours to 15 hours and on the east bank of Essequibo from Zeelat to Namarick from 9 hours to 15 hours. Weekly plant maintenance allows for routine inspection and maintenance of the network to provide customers with a reliable supply of electricity. GPL, empowering you.
All right, welcome back. So the phone lines are open and we already have a caller waiting. Raj? Hello, good evening, caller. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio.
Hi, good night. Good night. Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Why Mr. Lall now be the president for this country for you get so much of waste stuff for talk on this radio, so, ma'am?
I am not a politician, my dear, but thank you. I'm not a politician. I'm just here. I've been in the newspaper business a long time. I just want to educate you people. That's all I want to do. I'm not a politician. I'm not looking for office. A matter of fact, I always say if I get into office, then who will police me? I may not, but I don't know what I may become.
All right.
So I'm just here to help educate you people.
All right, before we go into the next call, I'd just like to remind all the viewers and listeners that if you're calling onto the program, you must be respectful. No explicits or no words that are not acceptable for the radio station. So that just a reminder, because if you say anything out of the way, we will cut the call on you. So the call is on air. Caller, good evening. You're tuned into Kaieteur Radio. Can I ask you to just step away from your radio set a bit before you start speaking?
Hello, good night to the station, right?
Good night.
I'm calling from number 19 village.
That's on the quarantine?
Quarantine, up the quarantine. Yes, babe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what Mr. Lall is saying there? I never complain nothing wrong with a man. Can you hear me, baby?
Yes, hear you loud and clear.
Yes. Sir, what you doing there, right? Me cut cane 26 years. And so me only give me 1%, 3%, 4%. And me never disqualified. Right? And now I have to tell me, say, then again, me can't choose. When me can meet you, sir, we said me can meet you that tongue.
You can call us. You can call us and we'll make some arrangement.
Same number?
Yeah, same number.
All right, so here now. What you talking about the I thing here, right? Sorry, you hear me?
I hearing you, man. You gotta make it quick. We gotta get some
Yeah,
calls.
yeah. Me need some minute move. Oh, God. Why I give you real to man? Have you real to Guyana? Have you born here?
You gotta.
I don't run go for he flag for Bar Jack Deal, but he flag for Infinally, and then not for me. What really have to do, man?
Well, you gotta ask your leaders, man. You gotta get on to your representatives in the community.
You're not calling him and answer me, sword and answer me.
Just shaking.
All right, I think we lost that caller. Yes, just a quick reminder of the phone numbers, 226-7454, 226-7453, or you can send us your texts and comments to 62222. In the meantime, I'll hand the baton over to Mr. Lall.
Yes, Shakima, you. That's a tough one. That's a tough call. At least the gentleman is listening and he wants to make a contribution. I think he means well. I think he means well.
We have another caller online. Hello, good evening, caller. Can you hear me?
Hello, can I?
Hi. Can you just move away from your radio set, please?
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for. You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for cutting off that caller there just now because she sounded like a politician. Let's be honest with you, right? Every night I listen to Mr. Lall, right? And he's speaking a true story. She sounded like a true politician. Like she would die for PPP. Like even if they go, even if she's in a wheelchair, she would go and just put an X where the cup is. Let me be honest to you, right? These people are blunt. Sorry for saying that, right? They don't listen properly. They're not well educated. You understand? They're not well educated. They're not listening. They're not seeing things.
I hear you, but we have to go slowly, you know, day in, day out, year go, year come. This oil business is not a cake shop business, brother. It's a huge thing. It takes.
I understand you, sir.
It takes countries to learn about it, 40 and 50 years. And I am so thankful. I am so thankful that in 5 years we are beginning to learn about it. What I'm talking about here, it took myself and some of my staff 5 years and over to learn what we have been speaking about, what we've been writing about in the newspapers.
Yeah, but she's not learning, you know. She's not learning. She's not seeing things that way. They're not reading. They can't read properly. Sorry for saying that. Now, probably she might listen, but she's not a reader. She's not listening. She's not looking. She never told Guyana.
I hear you, but you want to make a contribution? No?
Hello,
I'm glad
good
that you were speaking to the people, right? I just got 1 minute on my cell phone. You were making a good point, right? What you are saying. That's what I'm saying. Thank you very much. I always listen to you every day and night. This is my station. When I don't get this radio station, like I feel sick.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, we have another call online? All right, just a reminder to everyone who wants to make a contribution on air, just make sure you keep it very short and sweet because we have a string of calls coming in this evening and we want to give everyone a chance to make their contribution online.
Then, for 5 years, when they were in opposition, the PP government, the government now, they knew we had oil. Why weren't they preparing for when they got back in power? They could have prepared the policies, the local content policies, the taxation policies. They say they are preparing it. While Suriname was preparing 5 years before they discovered oil.
You know, Bernard, that's a beautiful question you asked there. This Irfanali and his government was in opposition for 5 years. They were in government when the announcement of this oil find. The oil blocks were given out by them. They became opposition, right? And many of these things that he has talked about in Parliament today and yesterday, we would have reported it almost on a daily basis in the Kaieteur News. What have they done? They have done nothing because they don't intend to do anything. All they want to do is put up a nice face and come up with a nice statement every now and again with fancy languages and confuse and fool Guyana. All of them. All of them. You remember what oil company does, right? Good.
All right, Mr. Lall, we have another caller. Caller, good evening. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio.
Good evening, Mr. Lall and staff.
Good evening.
I've been listening to your program for forever, and I'm very interested. And most of the things that you say are very interesting too. Simply because we out here, as the citizens not being or feel with what's going on up top there in the government, are at a loss, and you highlight it for us to know. My thing is not really a question. It's more or less of a suggestion. I think the best thing we could do as a people, with the help of you bringing out the information, we need to realize that we have two political parties that are railroading us. PPPC and the PNC, APNU, whatever the name, right? And it is a case where we are suffering whenever one is in power and we see shit being done, so to speak, that we just have no choice but to vote in the other one. And then they do stupidness and then we vote back in the others that was doing stupidness anyhow.
Perfect.
And it's a stupid cycle. And with the information we get, we're not prospering as a people. And I would want to suggest, if there's any way that we could find a party that could come up that is honest, that is vibrant, that is for the people, that is strong for the benefit of Guyana and us Guyanese, Mr. Lall, I think that's the only solution for rescuing this country from these two culprits, PPP and we need a vibrant party, a thought force who really means to be a thought force and not split of the PPP that whenever the votes are done, that the PPP end up winning because the splits took away the PNC votes and vice versa. Because all them second parties that came up over the last election are part of the two major parties to make them lose. In other words, one going to steal votes from the other one because they can get votes because they're a split party of the PVP or of the PNC. And that's the word I have. Point is, we're wasting time having these two people, these two parties run our country.
Well said.
We need a third party that we could find people in this country. They have you. They have Mr. Ram, Chris Ram. They got a lot of credible people who could turn this country around by forming another party and get rid of the PVPC and the PNC too. We don't need them no more. They need to be defunct. They need to be, man, look, totally disappear. Let proper people who could negotiate and make Exxon pay the proper price for our benefit and our island, our goal from home, like you're saying just now. Right? So I listen and I know that there's only one solution to save us.
Thank you.
As long as we don't have a third party that's vibrant and honest and for the people in this country, PNC and PPP going to keep screwing me royally.
I hear you, brother. I hear you loud and clear. I agree with everything you say there. We need to get rid of them. And I noticed many years ago, I fought and I supported the third force, the AFC, that has become the KFC today.
Yes.
And what they have done, they have sucked up, and they all become PNC, and the PPP back together. You're talking about a third force again. Where are you going to find the leaders?
Well, that's the point.
You got to find
you
people
to help us. I mean, I ain't saying you must be a political force, but you have been the one that's given us the information that we need to know. When those that we hired, that are called president and vice president and all that, to do the job of giving us our information, they're withholding it.
I hear you.
People who are honest to tell us what's going on. Us who belongs to us.
I am here, and I will continue to let all Guyana know the little I learn every day, and we learn every day. But to get out there into the political arena, no, that's not my fault. You guys have to start looking for honest and decent leaders. Because I myself have given up on Guyanese. Having placed my trust in some of them in the AFC, they have sold my trust completely from human beings. People that I met, I sit, I drink, I talk with, I get to love and appreciate. When I watched them when I went in there, the things they do and how they hug, dirtiness, skullduggery, and scampishness, it makes my heart sad. So I will leave that to you people to look and to seek out leaders who you think you can trust. But I can tell you plainly, the coalition and the PPP, they cannot be trusted with your life and that of future generations.
All right, Mr. Lall, thank you for that response. We are joined by our two journalists from Kaieteur News, senior journalist Mr. Kimal King and journalist Ms. Michaela Prince. So I think, Mr. Lall, we have a full house, so we can extend the program a bit later to give everyone a chance to make their contribution.
Yes.
Before we get into our next call, just a reminder, the numbers are 226-7454, 226-7453, or you can text us or send your comments to 6222222. We cannot answer calls from the cell phone number, so you have to call the landline numbers to get your contribution over. And I think we have a caller online. Caller, good evening. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio.
Good night, baby. Me can talk to Mr. Lall?
Yes, he's right here.
Mr. Lall, you know you talking there, soldier?
Pardon me?
Yeah,
All right, let's just move on to that. I think we can bring in Mr. Kimal King to make his contribution at this point.
Good night, everyone. This is Kimal King. Michaela and I just came from our coverage of the budget today. And though I have not been here long enough to get in on the exact mode of conversation, I want to say that from the 4.5 hours of budget presentation that I heard today, it was substantially lacking of the most important issue that we should be talking about. There was mention of the oil and gas sector, but there was no mention of getting us a better deal. There was no mention of putting many of the provisions and pieces of legislation and safeguards that this newspaper has been reporting on for years to get people the value that they deserve. There was no mention of getting us the proper insurance that we deserve to get us protected in the case of a large-scale disaster by ExxonMobil.
That was the topic we spoke about here tonight.
And that's exactly our topic in this evening.
Then it's fitting then. So, Mr. Lall, I don't know if you were listening to the budget presentation, but I am certainly not happy.
Yes, we did play about 7 minutes of President Ali presentation on air in which he spoke about the oil industry and what he said.
Guyana has one problem, Glenn. The rest of the Caribbean has earthquakes and hurricanes, but Guyana has two disasters that is bigger than them. After a hurricane, you can clean up and go again. But Guyana's enduring disaster the past 50 years has been the PNC and the PPP.
Well, I would tend to agree with you. Yeah, they are both disasters worse than a hurricane.
All right, and we have another caller online. Caller, good evening. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio.
Yes, good evening, babe. I want to talk to Mr. Lall, please.
All right, I guess we have a prank caller this evening.
Yeah, these are people that were called to distraction. Yeah, it's okay.
That's all right,
It's okay.
but we have other people who would like to make very meaningful contributions. So, of course, just a reminder of the numbers: 226-7454, 226-7453, or you can send your questions or your comments to 62222.
You know, I'll tell you. We also noticed that the opposition was notably absent from the
Reading today.
Parliament reading today. And the opposition, for the past few sittings of Parliament, they have been engaged in a circus. That's the only thing I can call it right now. Rather than putting themselves in a position where they can sit in Parliament and demand better with regards to our oil, they've been setting up tents outside at the Stabroek Market, and they have been holding what they're calling the People's Parliament. And I am not sure what the opposition intends to get out of the People's Parliament. But when the media stood up at the end of this budget presentation, hoping to see their opposition representatives say something about what was lacking from this budget with regards to our oil, there was no one there to speak. There was no one there to represent opposing viewpoints about this budget, about how it treats with the oil and gas sector. I don't know if the opposition, if the leaders, Mr. Harman and Mr. Ramjatan, intend to go back to Parliament, but if they don't, they are going to be leaving the PPP to handle the oil and gas sector in whatever way they will.
Yeah, but
Mr. Lall, I'd like you to comment on that.
Kemal, what they're doing there is nothing better they can do. They cannot go in Parliament because they want the PPP to continue doing the same thing what they're doing. What are they going to do there? They're going to go there and says nothing because they did the same thing. So when the PPP will say, well, you did this, and they don't want to be get caught up into this thing. So the best thing for them is to stay out and allow the PPP to do it. Just like how the PPP stayed out and allowed them to do it, because they both benefiting from what is taking place here. This thing is not just a one-side affair; it's a both-side affair. They're all sleeping in bed.
What does a circus do? A circus distracts the people from the real issues.
That's right.
That is why they're creating a circus. The opposition, the PNCR and AFC, they're a circus. But they are clowns. All they do is distract the people from the real pressing issues, which is value for the people. The people's natural resources are being stolen from them every direction, and the opposition are saying anything because they are clowns in a circus.
It's a game they're playing.
It's a game, exactly.
They know the game they're playing.
But they're only
because they all are benefiting from
they are
the game.
playing the fools.
And you know, this is exactly what oil companies want where oil companies want them to be. Right? They want us to fight among ourselves. PPP fighting among PNC, PNC fighting among PPP, and that's where they want us. They create confusion, they create chaos. And while we fight among ourselves, they are walking away, they're packing up, they're digging out, they're fetching away every single piece of thing because we are busy focusing our energies on Parliament and what they're saying and what they're doing.
And on that note, Mr. Lall, it seems like the opposition and its gimmickry, they are capitalizing on one of the very worst divisions that this country has, that ExxonMobil is happy for them to capitalize on.
Exactly.
Every single day you hear the opposition talking about race. Every single speech you hear someone give, they're talking about this black people and this Indian people. The other day, they put an ad in the paper. It was very, very heinous. And I never want to see an ad like that in any paper, and any national newspaper, but with all their talk of reconciliation and how we need to stand together, I do not think that that's what the opposition is interested in. Because they're going to, if they did, they'd stop race baiting all the time.
That's the only way to hold their voters, right? They have us fighting against each other, hating each other, and that's how they survive. That's how these people survive. There's no other way for them to survive. If not, they'll be out of office.
True that.
They'll be completely out of office.
All right, Mr. Lall, we have another caller on air. Hello, good evening, caller. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. First of all, I would just like to say
I appreciate the program, but I do not appreciate when some people make negative comments. I do not appreciate that. But my contribution is I had some experience working in the interior. So let me say when we Guyanese want to invest in a dredge, let me say a land dredge, sometimes we work in certain area. And then you might hear or GGMC or the EPA, they stop us from working, claiming that the environment is destroying, the water is polluted. It is not good for the livelihood of people, especially if Amerindian is around the area. So now I would like to know, so now Exxon is flaring beyond the limit, poisoning the air that we are breathing that can cause many to get sick. Is this not bad for the environment and our livelihood? So, but then the GGMC, the EPA, they are quiet.
Yeah.
They are not making any contribution, and we are Guyanese. So, and when the foreigner, they invest in the same thing, and they could do what they like.
Well, OMA is one of them. We are still waiting to see the contract, and we will go in to see their operations, what they are doing. Not only them, the AGM, the Chinese company that took over AGM, and there are so many other international mining companies that's in Guyana. GGMC doesn't see them, doesn't even visit them, but they will visit you, our brothers and sisters in there, and try to give you the royal runaround.
That is what I am saying. And say, for instance, with regard to this same claim, right? Look at this. Say you have a gold claim, and you got sometimes some people work. They do not declare the fair amount, right? Say they get 3 pounds, they get 3 pounds of gold. They declare two penny weight. People wouldn't accept them. You would get rid of them.
That's right.
Because they are not honest.
That's right. That's right.
Right now, we could say Exxon is raiding our honor claim. They want to take it out as fast as they can.
That's right. That's right.
And when you compare the meager, the royalty that they are giving us, the crumbs, it's like nothing. And so we always have to be begging our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren. And again, GGMC, the EPA, those high in authority leaders, they are so quiet.
No, they're asleep. They're asleep. They are waiting to pounce on people like you, the small miners. What I would like you to do, if being a miner, I would like you guys to call me when these rangers coming. When I come into you guys and I say, listen, you guys polluting the atmosphere and this kind of thing, and give you guys a hassle, call me. My cell phone number is on every lantern post in this country. It is 624-6456. Call me anytime. Let me know.
Okay.
Thank you. No, let it call. I like to hear how they're hassling you, man.
No, Glenn. If you pollute a certain rivers in Guyana, when your mining operation, if you do a certain amount of pollution, the GGMC will shut you down. They'll give you a cease work order. They will shut you down. And Exxon is with the produced water they dump in our ocean and the flaring. They did this all cease work order a long time ago.
Cease work order, they shouldn't be in the hemisphere.
Exactly.
Much as be in Guyana.
They're polluting Guyana's atmosphere. They're polluting the world.
All right, Mr. Lall, we have another caller on air. Good evening, caller. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio.
All right, babe. May I talk to Mr.
We pay them. Yes. This is what happened.
All
Yeah.
right. At this point, we'll take a very quick commercial break and then we'll be right back. Do stay tuned.
Guyana. This is
All right, welcome back to the Glenn Lall Show on Kaieteur Radio 99.1, 99.5 FM. Thank you for staying tuned. As you know, we've been having a very good discussion on Guyana and Guyana's oil industry, and we had a few callers. So just a reminder that the phone lines are open, and let me repeat the numbers. You can call us in 226-7454 or 226-7453. If those avenues don't work for you, you can send us a text or comment on 6222222, and you can also send us a text or comment or question on our Facebook Live on Kaieteur Radio's Facebook page. So now at this time, I'd like to invite Miss Michaela Prince, Kaieteur News' very own journalist, to give her input on some of the benefits that Suriname managed to grasp from their oil sector.
Thank you for that, Shakima. We have been discussing since the beginning of this show what Guyana should get with its resources, the vast amount of resources that we have out there. And we should always turn to other countries to see what they are doing so that we can get knowledge and all sorts of insights that can guide us. And I think one place very close to home that we can look to is not too far is in fact in Suriname, where the government over there, the country over there is making sure that no stone is left unturned when it comes to securing benefits for the citizens of Suriname. So we have so many things that the petroleum law has in place to protect the people and the environment of Suriname. We had carried stories extensively on how Suriname secured benefits in the local content aspect. And it's something that Mr. Lall would have touched on earlier this week in one of his earlier programs, where he spoke about Suriname can have access to any oil company's records, any of their reports, and they can access it anytime they want.
Anytime.
Unlike in Guyana, where we can only access it once a year, and we have to notify them 90 days before we can access those records. In Suriname, again, still on local content, the oil companies have to submit a report every 3 months on the nationalities of all the workers in the oil industry over there, what level, what kind of standing they have in the industry, their job description, and what they make. Unlike in Guyana, where we have nothing close to that, it's very sad. And more on the preparing side, Suriname, 6 years before they discovered oil in their offshore basin, they had started preparing for that discovery. Mr. Rudolph Elias, who's now the managing director and the CEO of Staatsolie, which is Suriname's state oil company, when he was appointed the CEO, he told the people working there that we are going to find oil. I know it that we are going to find oil in the offshore basin, so we need to start preparing now.
And that points you to another thing that Suriname has been doing that we haven't been doing.
Yes.
They've been conducting independent surveys of their oil resources.
Yes.
And 5 years, 6 years down the line, and we haven't done that.
We haven't, and
So they have been preparing for oil, and they didn't find oil.
yeah.
We find oil. The president know we find oil, and not, he was part of the announcement of oil since 2015, and this is 2021. He became president and addressing the parliament and saying now he is preparing for oil. You know, this thing is so sickening with these leaders. You want to know, are these leaders? I think these kids came out from school or still going to kindergarten.
I think that might be a bit offensive to people in kindergarten because even them, because I mean, children in primary school, they know I have an end of term examination. I need to study. I need to make sure that I have everything in place. You can't go to the examination and write it, and after then you decide you want to study. And that is the case that we have here in Guyana, where you find this massive amount of oil, and you know that you should be preparing for it, but 5-6 years down the road, and you still can't get the proper local content policy in place.
Wow.
You have no decommissioning law. You have no institution right now to audit like the billions of dollars in costs that are being thrown at us.
Michaela,
No.
if I could ask you, because you've been reporting a lot on this guy, Mr. Elias, what can you tell me about, in terms of the political will and courage that he's shown, do you see that reflected in any of the leaders here?
Of course not.
I have said so early in my thing. This man should be given a national award for Suriname for what he did, what he led, what he put together for Suriname for the last 5 years. Just knowing that Guyana find oil, this man knew that hey, once Guyana find oil, they would find oil. And look at preparation; they're in full mode to go ahead tomorrow morning. And we, 6 years after, these guys have done nothing whatsoever, man. You think these people deserve to be sitting there making decisions for Guyana? I don't think so. None of them, I don't think so. All they're concerned with, I believe, is what is there for them the next day. What is there for them, not what is there for us. This is why we are in such a chaotic position or situation right now.
That same guy would have Elias, he put somebody from the oil company on every drill ship whilst they're drilling. As soon as the drill ship found oil, they will report back to them instantly. We don't have anybody on our drill ships, on the FPSO. Nowhere. We have nobody out there monitoring what belongs to us. You would think the oil belongs to ExxonMobil, and we are not even shareholders. We are nothing.
We're waiting on them to tell us, well, we dig a hole here, we find something.
But I have one other question. The flaring, they said they're going to get the compressor fixed by the end of the year. So they're going to, we've been flaring for 1 year. We didn't flare for a month, and then we're going to flare for another year.
Don't talk about flaring. Don't talk about flaring.
Mr.
Don't talk about pollution, yeah.
I was still on Mr. Elias. He is somebody, when you listen to the presentation, the interview he had with Miss Wilberg, you can tell that this is somebody who has the best interests of Suriname at heart. And we have people like that in Guyana. We have Mr. Dr. Vincent Adams, who was at the EPA, and he was making sure that the environment was protected at all times, and even when they realized that they erred in some aspects, they made sure that in the future developments that the environment was protected. And then when the PPP came into power, for whatever reason, they decided to remove this man, and you have people fighting for you, but then the people at the top are removing these people. So it's
Michaela, We have plenty. We have several good people who have Guyana at heart. We have them right here in Kaieteur News that I could vouch for. I have people here who have Guyana at heart more than any one of these politicians out there. We have been reporting, we have been exposing, we have been talking, we have been teaching all Guyana in so many different ways all these years about what should be done to make sure that Guyana benefits. But who paying attention? Just a few people. The leaders weren't paying attention. Had they paid attention, all the things they spoke about in Parliament would have been in place already. But now they're still talking about it. Every single provision that was in the local content policy by Michael Warner, I made sure, remember, we all made sure that it published every day. The cunning and the connivingness in that guy to change everything that suits us, Guyana. He changed it to benefit the oil companies. And what? You want to tell me all these politicians were blind? They weren't seeing? They weren't listening? They knew it. And guess what? They allowed it. They allowed it. So, you believe they really have Guyana at heart? They have other things at heart.
All right, Mr. Lall, thank you for that answer. As we wind down to the final few minutes of the Glenn Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio, Mr. Lall, I'd just like to ask you for your closing remarks, just to sum up what we've been discussing here for the past hour.
I don't want to go back to that, please. No. I'm going to get a headache. I just, yeah?
Before you close,
Okay, go ahead.
Coming back to what I had said before about the political opposition, I do not want to see our oil sector receive any adaptations, modifications, or any sort of legislation that goes unchallenged. And so what I'm doing right now is, I'm calling on the opposition to go to Parliament and to challenge whatever it is the PPP is proposing for our oil and gas sector, and make your own inputs as well. Mm-hmm. Kaieteur News has been doing a lot over the past few years to report in a way that helps the development of this country and of this sector, and Kaieteur News is willing to work with anybody who holds the best interests of this country at heart. Mm-hmm. So I would like to ask the opposition to put this circus away and get to work.
Mm-hmm.
Over to you, Mr. Lall.
Thank you. A lamp doesn't speak. It introduces itself through its light. Achievers never expose themselves, but their achievements expose them. How about an evil person? He or she does not tell you they're evil. Their actions and words reveals them. The more I listen to the leaders of this land, when they open their mouth, one thing comes to mind: evil. Guyana, have a pleasant night, and God bless you all.
All right, with that, we've come to the end of the Glenn Lall Show. I'd like to thank everyone who called, who texted, who commented, who contributed to tonight's discussion. Thank you so much. And do join us again. Oh, before I go, let me thank our Kaieteur News journalists, Kimal King and Michaela Prince. Even though they were late, they still came in and gave their contribution. And also to our special guests behind the scene. So with that being said, do join us again next week. Same time, same place for another edition of the Glenn Lall Show. Tell it like it is. Have a great weekend.